Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, if you've ever been stuck and if you want to change your life, no matter what you've gone through in your past, you can do it. And this episode is for you today. My friend Matt is going to be dropping some serious knowledge. He's got a lot of stuff going on. He's a Trump supporter. He's gay. He is an author. He's a speaker. He's a Swiss Army knife of positivity. So I can't wait to get into this conversation. Matt, my brother, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Truly a pleasure.
It's my honor, brother. So my first question right out of the gate, what is your definition of resiliency?
Overcoming all the obstacles that are being put in play in front of me.
Okay. Now give us a quick down and dirty. Where'd you come from? Where'd you grow up? And how did you get into this crazy world of speaking, writing books?
I was born in Massachusetts. My parents made the decision in 1988 to move up to Vermont. It was the worst mistake they could have made. It's very isolating. It's hard to make friends. People pretty much stick to themselves. You know, my story is I'm on the autism spectrum. I have Asperger's. So the way I come to the world is very different than other people do. I worked at a car dealership in 2004. They didn't pay me my commissions, so I impulsively made the decision to try to sell one of their cars. I got caught. Instead of going through the mental health court, I went through the traditional court because Judge Jeffrey Crawford and Bob Wolford both decided I didn't meet the criteria. I went there for 18 months. When I came out, I couldn't find a job. So in 2009, I used other people's information to try to pass a background check. The government pursued me for 6 years, got a grand jury indictment in 2016, and I served another 18 months. That is where I wrote my story. I viewed myself similar to Anne Frank when she was in Nazi Germany. I was writing my story, so I don't want to have anybody have to go through what I went through.
Okay, so let's go back because I have a son. He's on the spectrum. He has Asperger's. Highly intelligent, has some social issues. So did you know when you were coming up that you were on the spectrum?
I was diagnosed when I was 20 years old.
So you had to you probably didn't really notice, but I'm sure your family and friends noticed that you were kind of different than some other kids, right?
I've always been different. I never fit into this heteronormative group that is so compartmentalized in our society. And I come to the world differently. I come with passion, excitement, and joy. And, some people are turned off by that.
Okay, so now, not only that, you're different in that way, which is never a bad thing, by the way. I believe that some of our greatest minds today are on the spectrum. People like Jeff Bezos, people like Elon Musk. So there's nothing wrong with it being on the spectrum whatsoever. But not only that, but you're also a homosexual male. So did that start at a young age too, that you were different?
I've always known I was gay. I've gone to churches where they tried to force witchcraft of conversion therapy on me, and I never succumbed to somebody else's ideology of what they think I should be or trying to push their hidden agendas on me. I know God loves me. I know God brought me into this world to teach people that we need to love each other for who we are and not try to change somebody for our benefit.
Okay, so now take us back to when you went to prison. Give us in detail what actually happened instead of the Cliff Note version.
Which one? The first or the second time, or both?
Probably both, but the first one I think because I want to know what it was like. I was looking at 5 years for grand larceny. Thank God I didn't have to go. I had an angel in my corner. So talk to us about what it was like to go to prison.
The first time was pretty traumatic, but obviously I didn't learn my lesson because I went back a second time. And that's really where I saw how bad it was. Vermont prisons are very mediocre compared to other states. So when I did my first stint, I was only in Vermont prisons, and I spent some of my time in the mental health unit, although it's not really a mental health unit, it's really a sex offender protection unit. So I was labeled a sex offender, even though I'm absolutely not a sex offender, and I abhor anybody who is.
Okay, so now why did they put you in that kind of situation?
A lot of prisoners think that a gay person is a sex offender, even though most sex offenders are white straight men.
Now you were assaulted in prison. Was it the first time or the second?
I was assaulted the first time. I was hit in the face very early on by a man named Jason Jackman, and that was when I was in a dormitory type of unit.
But you were also sexually assaulted, am I correct?
The second time I was both sexually assaulted and assaulted.
So okay, so now you get out the first time. How long did you do the first time?
18 months.
You get out that time. How hard was it to adapt to the outside life? Now you're an ex-convict.
I couldn't pass a background check. I couldn't find a job. I was still having challenges making friends, finding allies, finding a church. And I was a lukewarm Christian. I was going to church on Sunday and then going back to the world every other day. And I notice a lot of people are living that type of life. They are going into the world 6 days a week and then coming to church on Sunday and asking God for forgiveness, but they aren't having the real change. It wasn't until August 2015 where I had a near-death experience driving on 495 in the middle lane going 72 miles an hour, which is very slow for me, when a Lexus SUV came down an embankment, crossed in front of my car, but by the grace of God, I was saved, I was protected, and that was the moment that I turned my life over to God and stopped putting God in the passenger seat and started putting God in the driver's seat.
Okay, now a lot of people don't realize how high, I can never say the word, recidivism rate is of people that actually go to jail and then go back to jail. What was it like going back for a second time?
It was much worse. I was in 10 different institutions, several of the facilities. The inmates would lie to the guards, tell them I tried to proposition them. Then they would put me in solitary confinement. However, even though I was locked up at 23 hours a day, well, they had my body, they didn't have my mind. That's where I started sharpening my saw, reading my Bible, starting to pray, fasting. And that's where I started the discipline for when I got outside. And now I have the discipline to be in my Bible and pray and help others to get free of the jail that they may be in their mind. You know, a lot of people may not be in a physical jail, but they're in a jail in their mind. And I want to help them get out of that. But they can't do that unless they love themselves. And I stood in the mirror and said, I love you 10 times. And that's how I started my work, really forgiving myself of what I went through, the pain I put other people through, and started healing.
You know, one of my favorite movies of all time is the autobiography of Malcolm X. And one of my favorite lines is when he was sitting in prison and he said, "My body may be in prison, but my mind is free." And you know, and I believe that even in if you're outside in the outside world, you can still be free, but you can still be in a prison of your mind, right?
Absolutely. And as I mentioned, a lot of people are in a prison in their mind because they haven't accepted where they are and they're not asking for help. They're surrounded with negative people. I believe that you have to surround yourself with positive people. If you take a box of blueberries, if you have one wilted blueberry, all of the rest will be wilted. So we are who we surround ourselves with. If I surround myself with negative people, even if I'm positive, I will be negative. If I surround myself with positive people, even if I'm negative, I will be positive. Like-minded attract like-minded people.
Okay, but now, like when you sent me your bio, I love your book, by the way, and we'll talk about that down the road. I love your book. Really, very well written. It was very real. So you can tell that you wrote it. You didn't have a ghostwriter. It was you. So I want to give you props on that. So, you know, not only, like we mentioned earlier, not only in prison were you on the spectrum, gay, but also a Trump supporter. So I'm sure that all three of those, it became the perfect storm when you were in prison. So talk about that aspect of being in prison and having those things kind of going against you, but going for you in your own mind, but going against you in population's mind.
I was completely different than everybody else. Everybody else was here and I was here. So trying to assimilate and try to make friends and try to be fit in never was going to happen. So I knew that I needed to just keep my distance, do my time, and write down my thoughts and how I felt. And that was cathartic for me. And it wasn't until I started saying what other people think of me is none of my business that the real freedom began.
That's one of my favorite quotes. I totally believe that because a lot of people get so stuck on what people think of them that they don't do anything. They're so worried. They're so afraid of stepping out and writing a book, starting a podcast, starting a business that they never do. They never do what they want to do because they're so worried about what everybody else thinks.
I think, we all have dreams and aspirations. If you don't fulfill those dreams and aspirations, then you're only hurting yourself. No, little risk, little reward. High risk, high reward. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I would encourage everybody, if you have a dream, make it happen. Seize the day. Don't put off tomorrow what you can do today.
Did you start writing your book while you were in prison?
Absolutely. Yes. I wrote it day by day, hour by hour, everything that I saw. Obviously, I couldn't put the book out with thousands and thousands of pages. So I had to consolidate and just give the highlights.
So you were kind of like Paul, writing your book while you're sitting in prison.
Absolutely. Yes. A lot of free time, and it gave me a lot of time to reflect. Again, I was working on myself and sharpening my saw, reading my Bible, and really understanding that whatever God puts in front of me, I can handle. Paul was in prison more times than everybody else. I believe it was 13, but I could be off. And once again, Paul, who's wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, he may have been in prison, but his mind was free and clear.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that being in a prison in your mind is actually worse.
But now also, because I've written 2 top-selling books. The first one was about my life story. When you're writing your story, you have to be brutally honest, and and it becomes, like you said, very cathartic, but you're also ripping the Band-Aid off a lot of the wounds and reopening wounds so you can heal. So, and I always say that, I try not to curse on here, but it's my show. I can't. Self-awareness is a motherfucker, trying to be self-aware in order to succeed in life. Again, I'm in recovery 36 years. In order for me to get better, I got to be totally brutally honest with myself. So talk about that is, when you're writing your book, becoming totally and brutally honest about what was your fault, what was somebody else's fault, and you can't blame anybody anymore.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm the one who made the decision to sell the car. So I created the event that started all of this, the dominoes. The dominoes will fall. Will they fall? Where they fall? And I don't know where they're going to fall. But I, the one who pushed over the first domino.
So how long did you do the second stint?
18 months.
So you did 18 and 18. So you did 3 years total.
Correct. And I don't think it's a coincidence because both the judge in the state case and in the federal case was Judge Jeffrey Crawford. So I don't believe in coincidences.
Okay, so now, like, I just had a friend of mine, Mr. Dunn, on, Chad Dunn. His episode is out as we speak, and I think he did 3 or 4 years in prison, and he came out and changed his life. But like I asked him, I'm gonna ask you. In order not to go back a third time, you had to do something different. So what did you do different the second time when you got out that you didn't?
I stopped blaming everybody else. I started holding myself accountable. I released that anger, hate, resentment. I forgave myself. Forgiveness is not the same as forgetting. And I no longer hold hostage the people who put me in prison, the police officers, the judges, the lawyers. They are just doing their job.
So now, obviously, it was a little bit harder because now not only are you a felon, you're a 2-time felon, but you struggled with finding a job. You struggled with finding a community the first time. How did you do it the second time?
By being brutally honest with what I went through and relating to other men, going to men's weekends and working on myself and hearing other men share vulnerably about their life experiences and hearing other men that were in prison in their mind.
What kind of job did you take?
What am I doing for work these days? Is that what you're asking?
What kind of work did you, what was the first job you got when you got out of prison the second time?
I was working at a grocery store.
Okay. And what are you doing today besides being an amazing author and speaker? And
I am doing independent food demonstration work where the background check isn't of any interest to them.
Okay. So what would you like to talk to our audience about? Because a lot of my audience are military, first responders, and when they get out of the military or retire and hang up their belt for the last time, a lot of us get lost because we don't know where to go. We don't know how to reinvent and reimagine our life. So what kind of advice would you give to them?
Find a tribe that can help you heal from the pain that you went through. Isolating, keeping to yourself is why the suicide rate in this country is so high, especially among men, because men are taught to be stoic, to stuff the emotions, to not worry about them. But if they're not taken care of, it will explode, just like water. If you put a lid over water and you turn it on, it will boil. It will all flow over if it's not turned off. Same thing with any emotion. And I don't think men really are taught to show emotions. They're taught to shut them off, especially with first responders and military. And folks that are in hospitals, doctors, they're taught to turn off those emotions.
Okay, so let's talk about. You said you go to men's retreats and stuff like that. So why do you think that men, especially men, have problems opening up, have problems being vulnerable?
Fear of being rejected, fear of being alone, fear of what do other people think of what I'm sharing. And men cannot rely on their spouse for everything. They need to find a group of men. Men need to find men, women need to find women, and open up and start peeling away that onion.
Okay, now, again, you said you're a Trump supporter.
Always. I have been. I volunteered for him in 2016. I knocked doors. My favorite people were to talk to were Hillary supporters.
Why would that be?
Because they never could tell me about her voting record or why they're voting for her. I mean, all they would say is, well, she's a woman and I'm voting for her. That's not sufficient.
And now everybody knows that I speak the truth 100% of the time. I voted for Trump both times, but I'm also the guy that I will listen to both sides. I love hearing, why a person votes one way, why a person votes another. And a lot of times especially when I talk to a lot of Democrats, I ask them, why did you vote? Why do you vote Democrat? They're like, well, my grandfather did. My grandmother did. A lot of it is generational. And I think even Republicans, a lot of them it's generational. If you ask a lot of Republicans, why'd you vote Republican? My grandfather voted Republican. So I'm a straight ticket Republican. Where I think I lean more towards, I'd say libertarian, where I believe that, that our country has to get back to zero again. Just get back to the middle again, to where we're worried about America first and not worried about anybody else. But we got to be a little bit conservative too, financially. We can't just be blowing all this money all over the world, right? You believe the same thing?
Yes, I believe there is so much reckless spending, it's not funny. If the people in Washington spent the money like it was their own, we would be in much better shape. But instead, there's this reckless spending, lavish lifestyle, and that's why people have a hard time relating to people in office, because everybody in office is very rich. I mean, you can't be a middle class or poverty-stricken individual and run for office. It's a rich man's game, because it's all about kissing up to other people and playing this game. Because politics is a big game. It's a big chess game.
So then how do we, instead of going red or blue, how do we get back to being red, white, and blue?
By listening to other people, by being empathetic, by not trying to convince somebody else that they're wrong.
And I agree 100%. But it's amazing how, and this goes for both sides of the aisle. If a white guy is walking down the street wearing a Black Lives Matter hat, he's going to catch shit. If a black person walks down the street wearing a Make America Great hat, he's going to catch shit. So it seems like they're just fighting to fight, instead of just saying, all right, what are the real issues? Because I believe that 95% of the population, we all want the same thing. We all want to be happy. We all want to be healthy. We all want to be, we all want, want to live well financially. It's the other 5% that are screwing it up for the other 95%. Do you agree?
Absolutely, yes.
And I agree with you 100%. So tell me about your book, why you wrote it, and what is the goal for the book, and who does it help?
My book, Bullied Behind Bars, A Gay Christian Trump Supporter Goes to Prison, is available on Amazon. I wrote it because I want to help people. So nobody has to go through what I went through, the pain, the torture. My goal is to get on speaking stages and share my testimony, get out to the world.
And like I said, I read your book. I love it. It's very, very no bullshit, no fluff. It's just straight, straight trying to help people. So, how do we find you?
How I live my life. I've always been a very direct person. I don't sugarcoat things. I don't pretend. I mean, that's how I've lived my life ever since I had that near-death experience. Because excuses, lies, all of that doesn't help anybody. An excuse is just a lie.
I love it. So now, since your book has come out, how has it been for people that have read it? What kind of feedback have you gotten?
Mostly good. Some people don't understand how I can be a gay Christian Trump supporter. They think doesn't make sense. They don't understand, but that's fine. I didn't write it to appease the world. I wrote it to share my story and be very raw, be very detailed about my experience. And I want to help people.
So, how do we find you? How do we support your mission?
Buy my book. It's on Amazon. If you buy my book, I'll even autograph it for you for free. You can reach out to me on Instagram, Bullied Behind Bars. I'm on X, Bars Bullied. Facebook, Matthew.Melvin.5621. You can email me, bulliedbehindbars@gmail.com. I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think. If you know of a venue that could use my help, I'm happy to come. And I think my story can be shared with almost everybody. And really, my target audience is teens that are engaging in, marijuana use, small level crimes, or parents that have kids that are breaking the law and they want to put them on the right track. Because my story doesn't just start where I stole a car. There were other crimes, speeding, driving off without paying for gas, walking out of restaurants without paying, that accelerated because that risk versus reward. I mean, there's a thrill. There's a rush in doing this. And so I have to put that rush in check and use it in healthy ways rather than unhealthy ways.
I love it. And I think speaking on stages is one of the biggest rushes you can ever get without using a drug. So I totally agree. So guys, make sure you check out his book. I love his book. I got the ebook and I love it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. As you know, guys, I end every show with a quote from Joel Osteen. Every morning we wake up, we have a choice. We can be a victim or we can be a victor. If you listen to this show, you're no longer victims of your past. You're victors of your present and your future. And I want to thank you guys for always showing up. And remember, vertical momentum, the only way to go is up. I love you guys. Like I said, make sure you check out Matt's book. Definitely a well-written book, and you will actually love the book. Matt, my brother, have an awesome week.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
You too. Take care of yourself, my friend.
You too. Thank you.